I'm a 21-year-old in my 5th year of working at a company. At this age, being in my 5th year. As you might guess, this means that I started working right after middle school. Often, people look at someone like me and say it's a shame I couldn't even go to high school. Certainly, it's rare to find middle school graduates these days, and I understand that people see me that way. But I've never felt sorry for myself. After all, as the eldest son with a sickly mother and 2 younger brothers, we've always been poor. So I never expected to go to high school from the start. But I thought that was just how things were, and even though we were poor, we were a close-knit family, and I found happiness in that. So, deciding to work after graduating middle school wasn't something anyone told me to do. It was a path I chose for myself, as a matter of course. But my mom, looking sorry, used to say, "Jacob, you don't have to worry about me. You can go to high school. I'll find a way to afford the tuition." But I always said this. "What are you talking about? I just want to start working early. Besides, not everyone has to follow the same path in life, and it's not a time when education is everything. It's fine not to go to high school. I want to try my best on the path I've chosen for myself. It's just that my crossroads came earlier than others." Now, looking back, I think it was quite mature for a 9th grader to say such things. But it wasn't just lip service to comfort my mother. I believe it was the result of my best thinking about how to stay positive and live well with my family, choosing a somewhat unique life path of working after middle school. I can make life brighter by staying positive, no matter the situation. Holding on to that hope, I started working at 15. But my life as a working adult turned out to be different than I expected. I got a job at an advertising agency. When people hear working after middle school, they might imagine physically demanding jobs, but honestly, I wasn't very confident in my physical strength or stamina, so I was desperately looking for a desk job and went to many interviews. I was relieved that this company offered me office work as I hoped, but it turned out my job was apparently the lowest in the company. Officially called general affairs, my tasks were only menial, like making tea, copying, cleaning, and washing dishes, with no involvement in advertising work. But I was a middle school graduate with no part-time job experience. Even the youngest person was over 10 years older than me, clearly marking me as the absolute bottom of the hierarchy. So, of course, I had no complaints about these tasks. It was my first time earning money, and I was somewhat happy just with that. But I started to feel uneasy about my job about a month after I started working. It was around the time I received my first paycheck. I was so happy to see the word salary deposited into my bank account for the first time that I went to work feeling thrilled. Though my main tasks were still making tea and cleaning, I strongly felt that I was contributing to someone and that it was reflected in the form of money. "Jacob, you seem to be in a good mood." The one who said this was Emma, a female senior colleague. She's the mood maker of the company, always at the center of everyone's circle. "Yes, I'm happy because I received my first paycheck." When I shared my feelings with a silly, relaxed smile, Emma said, "That's great. Your hard work is noticed by everyone, so keep it up." "Yes, thank you very much." I had never been praised out loud like that, so I became even happier. Although I hadn't really bonded with my colleagues due to the age difference, that moment made me feel motivated to keep working hard to gain their recognition. Then, could you quickly make copies of this? Also, could you go to the stationery store to buy these, and while you're at it, stop by the convenience store? As I was taking notes on the tasks Emma asked me to do, other employees also started making requests. "Yes, I am useful to everyone. I'm doing my job as a working adult," I thought, feeling over the moon. But, still young and naive, I was completely oblivious to my superior's true feelings. When 6 p.m. rolled around, as usual, I was told I could leave. Eager to buy a cake for my family, with my first paycheck, I accidentally left my phone on the desk and went back to the office after leaving. But the moment I opened the door, I felt I shouldn't have, because they were gossiping about me inside. Jacob, today was just too funny. I had to try so hard not to laugh. It was Emma who said that. I couldn't recall doing anything funny, so I was anxious and confused about what they meant. But the other employees seemed to understand right away, nodding in agreement. Even though I knew eavesdropping was wrong, I couldn't resist my curiosity about the continuation of their conversation and couldn't bring myself to move. Then, I heard a series of shocking words that hit me hard. Showing off about tasks anyone can do. Do you have any other work I can do? Haha. As if we'd trust someone like you with any real work. A worthless middle school dropout who ran away from studying. Exactly. And to be so happy about such a pathetic first paycheck. Unbelievable. Yeah, he's just a kid after all. Seriously, for only doing menial tasks, he should be thankful he's getting paid at all. It's honestly like babysitting a child. He's practically a nuisance. The superiors, who always smiled kindly, were now laughing as they spoke these words. Indeed, my job was mostly menial and might not be considered prestigious. But I thought I was doing my best and was somewhat helpful. However, it was all just my misconception. To think that I was not only unnecessary but even considered a nuisance, I was embarrassed about my own self-delusion. But Emma, didn't you say kind words to Jacob just earlier? One of the superiors mentioned, and I too noticed the discrepancy. Indeed, just a moment ago, Emma had said with a smile, "Everyone understands Jacob's hard work." I found it hard to believe she was now talking behind my back. But Emma crushed my faint hope instantly. Yeah, it's just more convenient to flatter him, right? He's useful for running errands at least. Scary, haha. With that one line from Emma, I realized I had been misunderstanding my role in the company the whole time. I thought I was at least somewhat relied upon, even for small things, that I was needed in this company. But I was just a hindrance, a convenient errand boy. Everyone was just keeping me happy for their convenience. Feeling betrayed by what I believed and my own powerlessness, my mind went blank, and I stumbled backward. Accidentally, my foot hit the door, causing a loud noise. Of course, everyone inside noticed the noise. They all seemed to realize my pale-faced presence. Yet, they just exchanged glances and chuckled without showing any signs of disturbance. Seeing this, I understood that to my superiors, my existence was so insignificant that it didn't even warrant an explanation. I just forgot my phone. I said only that, grabbed my phone from my desk, and left the company quickly. I wish this were just a bad dream, I thought, but in reality, my nightmare-like days were just beginning. The next day, when I went to the office, the attitude of my superiors towards me had clearly changed. "Jacob, make copies of this, within 10 minutes. I spilled some coffee earlier. Wipe it up, will you? It's almost lunchtime. Go buy some lunches." The number of menial tasks they asked of me increased astonishingly, and their tone lacked a pretense of kindness from before. It seemed that since my superiors' true feelings had inadvertently been revealed to me, they saw no need for pretenses anymore. Moreover, what used to be a standard end-of-day routine turned into 5 or 6 hours of overtime due to the excessive amount of menial tasks. I was also ordered to arrive early in the morning to clean, and harsh words were thrown at me. The physical and mental toll was immense, and I thought of quitting many times. But what kept me going was my supportive family, and the resolve of my younger self to live positively. Unusually for a guy, I have a habit of keeping a diary, and whenever I felt like giving up, I'd look back at my words from when I first joined a company. No matter the situation, staying positive will brighten your life. Back then, I might have been able to say such things because I didn't know what real hardship was. But still, I wanted to believe in that small glimmer of hope to change my future. Just being a high school dropout is already a handicap for me, so if I quit my job in just a month or so, finding another job will become even more difficult. Even at 15, I was aware of that much. So, I had no choice but to do my best at my current workplace. I had heard that the more you react in these situations, the more people tend to enjoy it and escalate things. So I kept smiling and responding as usual, no matter how I was treated. No matter how much overtime I had to do, I never complained and just got through it with a brave face. By doing so, it seemed like the intentional harassment gradually decreased. However, I still received snarky comments and things were still awkward with my boss. Yet, I definitely felt that by always looking forward and not giving up, I was able to change my situation. Then one day, after several years of this, I heard that the company I worked for was going to be merged with another company, and there would soon be a social gathering with the new executives, including the new president. But I had never been invited to any kind of company drinking party before, and I didn't expect to be invited this time either, or so I thought. Then, Emma came over to me and said, "Are you coming, Jacob?" I was genuinely surprised. Is that okay? It seemed I was still naively hoping to get along better with my superiors. "Come on, Jacob, you're 21 now." I was even more surprised by Emma's words. I had thought I wasn't invited because my superiors disliked me. But was it really just because I was underage? If that's the case, maybe I can finally interact with them on equal terms. For a moment, I allowed myself to harbor this faint hope, unaware that I would be betrayed just seconds later. "Just kidding. With your pathetic salary, unchanged since your first paycheck, you can't afford it, can you? Haha." Emma laughed as she showed me her cell phone screen. It displayed a homepage for what seemed to be a fancy Japanese restaurant, apparently costing over $100 per person. Honestly, considering how my modest salary was supporting my household, it was an amount I couldn't easily afford. Indeed, as Emma said, being ridiculed was frustrating. "See, you can participate, right?" I was infuriated by her attitude, asking even though she knew the answer. "I won't go," but all I could do was assert I won't go, instead of I can go. Even though I knew it was just a small defiance and I'd still be laughed at. I knew it, but I couldn't help feeling miserable that I still couldn't stand up to my superiors, even after all these years. But I still chose to keep looking forward, because this was the path I had chosen. Even if there were few choices, I had to do my best on the path I had chosen. On the day of the party, my superiors left the office a bit more dressed up and looking happy. I finished up the remaining menial tasks and was about to leave the office 2 hours later than everyone else. That's when the office phone rang. It was Emma saying, "President Green is calling for you, so come to that place right now." As she hung up, Emma muttered with a sigh, "Ugh, why someone like you?" But honestly, I felt the same way. I had heard rumors about the new president, a capable executive who started a company in his 20s and grew it significantly in just 2 years. Moreover, he was rumored to be handsome and stylish among the employees. I couldn't fathom why President Green would call for someone like me. Confused, I arrived at the designated upscale restaurant and was met by Emma, who warned me, "Don't get cocky just because you were pitied and invited." He just felt sorry for the poor employee who couldn't afford to come. Then she led me to President Green. President Green, true to the rumors, was so young and handsome that it was hard to believe he was a president. He had an aura so radiant it seemed almost unreal for a fellow human. "I'm sorry for calling you so suddenly," President Green said, looking intently at my face. "Yes, what can I do for you?" I was a bit nervous as I had never been scrutinized like this before. Then, President Green asked, "You're Jacob, right?" mentioning my name. Yes, that's right, but I had just arrived, so I hadn't introduced myself yet. I wondered if someone had told him about me beforehand. But Emma and the other superiors also looked surprised, so it seemed that wasn't the case. Why do President Green know my name? I wondered desperately. Then he said something totally unexpected. "Do you remember? We met when you were in your first year of middle school." That I had no recollection of meeting President Green back in my first year of middle school. "Sorry, I don't remember," I admitted honestly. Then, President Green began to recount the time we supposedly met. "I was originally studying to become a teacher at a university. I met you during my teaching practice." Really? The fact that the current president of a company had been studying to be a teacher years ago was a surprise to me and my superiors. At the same time, I remembered that a student teacher had come to my class when I was in the first year of middle school. His name was Mr. Green. When I asked, remembering, President Green nodded. In the winter of my first year in middle school, I began to think about my future for the first time. It was when I realized I wouldn't be able to go to high school during a career survey. Though I had a hunch, I hesitated to submit a different survey form from everyone else and kept saying I forgot it for weeks. It was Mr. Green who noticed my discomfort. I know what I should write here, but I'm scared to be different from everyone else. Perhaps because he was neither a parent nor my regular teacher, I was able to express my true feelings. And Mr. Green said to me, "I see. Yeah, it's scary. You've been walking the same path as everyone else in elementary school. But life, even though it seems similar, everyone walks a different path, right? Look, everyone has different parents, strengths, weaknesses, and even their club activities are different. In fact, none of my classmates from middle school are the same now. No one walks the same path. So, there's no need to be scared. You're just facing your crossroads a bit earlier than others. It might not be as scary as you think." Those words resonated deeply with me at the time and removed all the anxiety I had about choosing to work after middle school. It's thanks to him that I've been able to live positively despite my tough circumstances. Thank you so much for that time. As I quickly expressed my gratitude, President Green said something unexpected. "No, I should be the one thanking you. I was just following the path laid out for me, as both my parents were teachers. But seeing you, so young, confronting your life choices, made me question if I was really doing what I wanted. That realization led me to my true calling, and to where I am now. Your presence allowed me to find the path I should truly follow. Thank you, really." President Green said this. The executives around us, including Emma, were all visibly shocked. If it weren't for Mr. Green's words back then, I think my spirit would have been broken by now. Thinking about it, that encounter was truly significant for me. It was incredibly moving to know that he also cherished our meeting. "Jacob, the path you chose and the path I chose have intersected. I'm truly happy about that. Let's work hard together from now on." With that, President Green and I shook hands, and from the next month, my work environment completely changed. President Green, with his background in education, paid special attention to preventing bullying among subordinates. Thanks to his approach, teamwork improved rapidly, and I, who had been stuck doing menial tasks for nearly 5 years, was finally accepted as a member of the team. And by working together towards the same goal, they probably developed a sense of camaraderie toward me, and before I knew it, none of them had any sarcasm towards me anymore. Of course, Emma too. I was amazed at how much difference a great leader could make. Now, I truly find fulfillment in my work and enjoy every day. It's all thanks to President Green's help, twice. I'm truly glad that I never gave up and always looked forward. I'll keep believing in the path I've chosen, And one day, I hope to become someone like President Green. If someone collapses in front of me, I want to be the kind of person who doesn't hesitate to help, especially if it's a child. One day, I helped a girl who collapsed in front of me, and because of that, I missed an important business meeting. I called the company to explain the situation. My boss, Kyle, said something utterly unacceptable, which made me angry. I openly objected, then it led to my dismissal. But the person who came to my aid in this situation was unexpected. My name is Ethan. I'm a 48-year-old salesman, dedicated to sales ever since I graduated from college. Though sales can be tough, I've always liked feeling helpful to others. I worked in sales for over 20 years at a small local electronics store in Nebraska, but it had to close due to aging and declining birth rates in the area. I'm truly sorry, everyone. Please forgive my incompetence. I'll do my best to find new job opportunities for you all. I couldn't blame Mr. Harrison, as he tearfully apologized to the staff. It's the changing times, and sometimes, no matter how hard you try in sales, it's not enough. Many customers expressed their regret about the store closing. Ethan, you've helped us with everything. It's sad that the store is closing, and I'll miss you too. I'm glad to hear that. I've always appreciated how much Grace cared for me since I started working here. I'll be sad to leave, but I'll do my best in a new place. I'll write to you. On the last day, I said goodbye to Grace, a loyal customer who had always been very kind to me. Grace was a refined lady who had always been very fond of me. Thank you. I'll be looking forward to it. Take care and work hard, but don't overdo it. I'd be happy if you could visit when you're back in town. Of course, I will. I'll let you know when I'm visiting. And so, I started a new chapter in my life. Being single, I just need to take care of myself. I gave the re-employment opportunity that Mr. Harrison found to a colleague with a family, and I moved to a neighboring town on my own. It's been about half a year since I started working at my current company. My previous company was very homely, with hardly any issues in human relations, but my current boss, Kyle, has been a source of stress. Hey, Ethan, when will you have the estimate ready? I'm sorry, Kyle. I got a call from a client and haven't started on it yet. I explained and apologized. Besides, there were still 4 days left until the deadline he had requested. There's still time until the deadline, and you said it wasn't urgent, so I prioritized a client's needs. Kyle seemed displeased with my addition. Even so, it's common sense to do the work you're asked to do quickly, right? And the client you're talking about doesn't even bring in much revenue. This is why I find Kyle stressful. He only sees customers in terms of money and changes his attitude based on how much they spend. I understand that a company is not a charity and needs sales to survive. But I can't imagine blatantly changing my attitude based on a customer's spending. Even so, they are important customers. Though their current spending may be small, they could become more significant in the future. If you can't understand which clients to prioritize, you're useless. Forget it. I'll have someone else do it. Kyle, red-faced with anger, demanded a female employee to take on the task. His request, delivered in a tone of rage, was hardly the way to ask for help. The woman, caught off guard, wore a look of panic. She must have been busy with some other work at the time. Kyle often imposes work regardless of other situations. I felt like I had unintentionally involved her in an accident and decided to apologize. During lunch, I approached the colleague, Emma, whom Kyle had burdened with the work. Emma, I'm sorry about earlier. You got dragged into this because of me. Oh, Ethan, no need to apologize, thank you. It's not your fault. Kyle is always like that, Emma said with a smile. We then decided to have lunch together. Kyle used to land big clients and got promoted to senior manager. He thinks he's good at his job, but actually, There have been quite a few complaints from clients and other departments. Emma informed me over dessert, something she heard from a colleague in another department. The truth is, even as a senior manager, he doesn't have that much power in the company. But I think people find him intimidating due to his usual domineering approach. Besides, like it or not, Kyle's assessment as our boss matters. That's why there's this atmosphere where it's hard to go against him. With his attitude, it's no surprise he gets complaints. It would be more surprising if he didn't, I remarked. Exactly. Kyle always sucks up to those higher up than him. Maybe that's why his behavior doesn't reach the top. It's a problematic situation. Emma and I sighed, encouraging each other to maintain a safe distance from Kyle and get through this. Then, one day, a company I had been handling approached me with a significant business deal. It was the same company Kyle had dismissed as not profitable. However, this time, the deal involved a substantial amount, and upon hearing this, Kyle, with a smirk, announced he would join the negotiations. Listen up, as your boss, I'll be there too. Make sure everything is prepared perfectly. This could be a big win for us. He was suddenly interested, even though he had previously said they weren't worth the effort. I was extremely annoyed by Kyle's about-face. Still, remembering the client's request for me, I tried to focus and shift my mindset. Emma helped me prepare the materials. Of course, Kyle did nothing. Just barking orders without lifting a finger. He would probably take the credit and report it happily to the higher-ups. Kyle had a history of stealing subordinates' achievements for himself. But believing someone was watching and appreciating my efforts, I had no choice but to do it. Finally, the day of the presentation arrived. I woke up early in the morning, prepared, and left the house 30 minutes earlier than usual. It was a pleasant day for a walk, not too hot, with a nice breeze. I decided to walk the distance of one bus stop. At the crosswalk, I waited for the red light to turn green. As I waited, I started walking as soon as it did. At that moment, a young elementary school girl walking ahead suddenly collapsed, as if crumpling to the ground. Shocked, I rushed to her side. "Hey, young lady, are you okay?" I called out, checking for a response. The girl was motionless, her face pale. I gently lifted her eyelid, apologizing, and side was completely white. She might have fainted. I looked at the signal, noticing the green light was flashing. Staying in the crosswalk was dangerous. I picked up the girl and carried her back to the sidewalk. "Are you okay? Can I help with anything?" A woman on her way to work offered assistance, and I thanked her as she helped me lay my jacket on the ground. I gently laid the girl on top of it. While I was considering whether to call an ambulance, the woman spoke to me. "This child seems to be prone to fainting. Look, there's information on the back of her charm." She showed me the back of a charm hanging around the girl's neck. It detailed the girl's condition, a plea for help if needed, and contact information for her mother and a mobile number. "That's true, thank you. I'll call her mom right away," I said. "Could I ask you to take over? I'm running late for work, I'm sorry." The woman who had helped with the first aid apologized, looking regretful. "It's fine, please go ahead. I really appreciate your help, thank you." While repeatedly expressing her gratitude, the woman hurried off towards the station, and I, looking at the girl's charm, called the mobile number listed under mother. After a few rings, a woman answered. "Hello, this is Jennifer speaking." "Hello, I'm sorry for calling out of the blue. My name is Ethan. I'm with your daughter, who seems to have fainted at the crosswalk." As I explained, Jennifer sounded panicked. "What, really, Ethan? Are you with her right now?" "Yes, there was another woman here just now, but I'm with her at the moment. Should I call an ambulance?" "I haven't called one yet because I wanted to speak with you first." I had debated whether to call an ambulance or her mother first, but decided to contact her mother initially. No need for an ambulance, thank you. Where are you now? I think I'm not far from there. I'll come right away. I described the location to Jennifer. It seemed to be really close to their home. I know where that is. I'll be right there. Can you please stay with my daughter a little longer? I could hear the bustle as she prepared to leave. She sounded apologetic. Of course, it's okay. Please take your time and be careful on your way here. She thanked me several times before we hung up. Sighing, I decided to call my office. Actually, I had left home early, but since I've been assisting the girl who collapsed, I've run out of time. Even if I hurry now, I won't make it to the office by the start of the workday. And it's likely that I won't make it in time for the presentation with the client either. Hello, good morning. This is Ethan. Is Kyle there? Emmy answered the phone. Ethan, it's Emma. Kyle is furious. Is something wrong? We usually would have been here by now. Everyone was worried when you didn't show up. I could hear voices in the background at the office, relieved to hear from me. While I felt guilty for causing worry and appreciated their concern, Kyle's voice thundered through the phone. Ethan, is that you? Hand over the phone now. What are you thinking? Being late on the day of an important deal? Are you mocking your job? Kyle's yelling continued over the phone. His voice was so loud that I instinctively pulled the receiver away from my ear. Kyle, I'm terribly sorry. I'm not taking my job lightly, but a young girl just collapsed in front of me. It seems like she's fainted, and I'm staying with her right now. I briefly explained the situation, keeping it as simple as possible. I've just contacted her mother, who is on her way here. Whether she's fainted or not, just leave her. The business deal is more important. Forget about the kid. His harsh words finally made me snap, having already been stressed by Kyle's behavior. You know, there's a right and a wrong way to say things. A child has collapsed here. You have a child too, right? Could you say the same if it was your own child? Startled by my firm tone, Kyle briefly fell silent. But true to form, he quickly recovered. He promptly began to retort in response. You've got some nerve talking to your boss like that. I'll make sure you regret this. He then sneered maliciously. I'll let the executive director, Mr. Anderson, know you've ruined the deal. You are causing damage to the company, so you are fired. Anyone who defies me or complains is fired. Got it. You're probably making excuses because you're not confident about the deal. His words were disjointed, but I understood I was being fired. My heart raced, not expecting to be fired in such a situation. Before I could respond, Kyle spoke again. Scared now, can't even talk. Don't bother coming back. You're disqualified as a salesperson. You're fired, bye. Kyle hung up the phone with a loud laugh. I must have been a bit dazed, wondering what to do next. Suddenly, someone spoke from behind me, making me jump in surprise. Excuse me, was today an important business meeting for you? I turned to see a woman with a face as pale as a girl's. Engrossed in the call, I hadn't noticed her approach. She might have overheard Kyle's loud voice and the content of the conversation. Feeling awkward but deciding to be honest, I replied. Did you hear that? I'm sorry you had to listen to such an embarrassing conversation. Yes, it was an important business meeting. I couldn't just ignore a child in need and go to a business meeting. I am truly sorry about that. I assured the woman, Jennifer, who looked like she was on the verge of tears as she expressed her gratitude. It's really okay, Jennifer. Even if I had ignored the child who collapsed and gone to the meeting, and even if it had gone well, I wouldn't have felt good about it. While Jennifer and I were talking, the girl who fainted from anemia, Sophie, had already been taken to her mother's car. The driver, a burly man, moved swiftly and carefully, carrying Sophie with great care. Don't worry about me at all. I'm single, and I don't squander my money on gambling or anything, so I have some savings to tide me over for a bit, I reassured her. But still, Ethan, which company do you work for? Jennifer asked, almost desperately. I handed her my business card. ABC Trading. "So, you work here. I will definitely express my gratitude for saving my daughter." Jennifer expressed her gratitude repeatedly. "Thank you, but please, take Sophie to the hospital. As for me, well, I guess I'll just slowly head home," I replied as I watched the car drive official. The car disappeared from sight, and I let out a small sigh before walking towards the station to return home. The next morning, I was awakened by the incessant ringing of my phone. Though I was awake, I was still half asleep. After all, I had drunk more than usual the night before, knowing I had been fired. While I'm not great with alcohol, the thought of not having to see Kyle's face anymore was somewhat refreshing. So, I had 2 bottles of beer and went to bed without setting an alarm, just wanting to sleep as much as I needed. Who could it be, calling a fired man like me? I wondered groggily, checking my phone's display. To my surprise, it was Kyle's name on the screen. Wondering what he could possibly want now, I felt annoyed and honestly, I found it a hassle to talk. Deciding to be true to my feelings, I ignored the call on my cell phone. Once the call ended, I quickly set my phone to silent and went to take a bath. After getting out of the bath, I checked my phone again and was surprised. I found about 30 missed calls from Kyle and around 20 from the office. My phone was almost out of charge, so I hurried to plug it in. The moment I picked it up, another call from Kyle came through, and this time I decided to answer, not wanting any more calls. I was done with the constant ringing. "Hello, what do you want with a fired man?" I answered, expecting it to be about some formalities. I thought Kyle would either yell or speak arrogantly. But his tone was different this time. "Ethan, I'm sorry to ask, but can you come to the office right now?" I was so surprised that I couldn't find my voice at first. Impatient with my silence, Kyle spoke faster. "Are you listening? If you can hear me, get to the office now." His usual attitude snapped me back to reality. "Is this about the paperwork?" Kyle seemed to explode in frustration. "No, the client you stood up yesterday is here at the office. They're saying they won't leave until they see you. Just come quickly." With that, he hung up. I genuinely felt sorry for having missed the business meeting yesterday. The fact that there were calls not just from Kyle, but also from the company, suggested that it had become a big issue at the office. With a sense of resolve, I got ready and decided to head to the company I had been fired from. As I was walking on the sidewalk, a sleek black luxury car smoothly pulled up beside me. "Ethan, thank goodness, I was afraid we'd miss each other. Please, get in." I turned in surprise to the voice calling my name and saw Jennifer from yesterday. "Jennifer, oh hello, what a surprise. How's Sophie doing?" I asked about Sophie, and Jennifer nodded happily, indicating she was doing well. "Yes, she's all better now. Oh, the light's changing. Please get in." "What? Get in? Into the car?" "Yes, come on, quickly." In a hurry, Jennifer urged me to get in, and I got into the back seat of the car. Since I was already in, I decided to ask her to drop me off at the nearest station. When I looked at the driver's seat, it was the same driver who had carried Sophie yesterday. Our eyes met in the rearview mirror, and as I nodded slightly in acknowledgement, the driver returned the gesture with a friendly smile. "Could you please drop me off at the nearest station? I'll take my leave from there." I apologize for getting in the car so suddenly. "Don't mention it. It was me who asked you to hurry. I'll take you to the office, don't worry." Her offer was very much appreciated. The morning had long passed, and it was getting warmer as noon approached. Riding in the air-conditioned luxury car to the somewhat distant office seemed like a good idea. I hesitated but decided to accept Jennifer's offer. "Then, if it's not too much trouble, may I take you up on that offer?" Jennifer looked very pleased with my response. "Of course." And so, I headed to the office in Jennifer's car. We talked about various things on the way. Jennifer shared that her husband was often busy with work, and she was mostly raising Sophie on her own. On the day Sophie collapsed, Jennifer had been worried about her health from the morning, but then she received a call that her grandmother wasn't feeling well. Then, when I called to tell my grandmother that Sophie had collapsed and I couldn't come, she actually scolded me. She said, as a mother, "Your child should always come first. You should go pick her up right away. It must be because your grandmother adores Sophie so much." Yes, she even started going to a gym nearby just to play with Sophie, Jennifer said, and I smiled, imagining the scene. Yet, as the company building came into view, my spirits sank. Unconsciously, I let out a sigh and then apologized to Jennifer. "Oh, I'm sorry. We were having such a pleasant conversation," I apologized. Jennifer just laughed and forgave my sudden change in mood. "Don't worry about it. It's understandable not to feel like going to the office the day after being fired, but it'll be all right," Jennifer reassured me. Her words struck a chord with me. What do you mean by it'll be all right?" I asked. Jennifer didn't answer, just smiled and encouraged me to get out of the car. "Let's go." Jennifer walked with me into the office, leaving me puzzled. As we entered, we saw Kyle with a pale face. He rushed towards me without even glancing at Jennifer. You did," Kyle exclaimed, grabbing my shoulder, but he was stopped by a sharp voice. "Stop that, what do you think you're doing?" a man in an expensive suit said. Behind him was our company president, Williams, looking equally pale. I was about to thank the man when Jennifer ran to him. "Dad, sorry for the wait. I've brought Ethan." "Oh, thank you." Jennifer's call of Dad left me wide-eyed, and then Williams approached me. "Ethan, this is Chairman Thompson of Thompson Industries, the client you missed the meeting with." I was stunned, looking at Chairman Thompson. "The chairman of Thompson Industries," I exclaimed. Just as I was about to apologize for missing the meeting, Chairman Thompson spoke. "Don't apologize to me, Ethan. It's us who should thank you for saving my granddaughter. Thank you so much." Jennifer expressed her gratitude alongside me. It was unbelievable that Jennifer was Mr. Thompson's daughter and Sophie was his granddaughter. Stunned by the revelation, I quickly came to my senses and addressed Mr. Thompson. "There's no need for that, sir. What I did was just a human response. However, I do regret not being able to attend a business meeting." Mr. Thompson, looking at me, had a gentle expression. "Sophie is my precious granddaughter, and I am always worried about her health. I am so grateful for your kindness in helping her." Though Mr. Thompson spoke kindly, his expression turned stern as he addressed Kyle. "My daughter called me in tears after hearing about your harsh words towards Ethan, who helped Sophie. I was disgusted. You called him unfit as a salesman for missing the meeting, didn't you?" Under Mr. Thompson's sharp gaze, Kyle stood rigid and pale. Sweating profusely, he began to stammer out a response. It was an important meeting with Thompson Industries, and abandoning it seemed irresponsible. Really, and leaving a child who has collapsed is responsible as a human being, Mr. Thompson retorted, leaving Kyle speechless. If Ethan hadn't been there, Sophie could have been hit by a car or worse. Mr. Williams, the company president, started to apologize, his face pale as well. "I am truly sorry for this incident," Mr. Williams apologized earnestly. Mr. Thompson responded with an even more stern look. "Mr. Williams, this isn't just about my granddaughter's incident. Are you aware of how your employees behave towards clients?" "I'm not sure what you mean," Mr. Williams inquired in a weak voice. Sighing, Mr. Thompson continued. "It seems you're unaware of how poorly Kyle is perceived, not just at our company but at others too. I did some asking around after this incident." With a surprised expression, Mr. Williams looked at Kyle. I couldn't help but feel exasperated at Mr. Williams's reaction. Kyle was adept at ingratiating himself with those in higher positions. Mr. Williams, being one of them, probably had no idea about Kyle's true nature. Kyle seems to be rather full of himself, with his condescending speech and arrogant behavior. I didn't hear a single good thing about him. Kyle was trembling so much he looked as though he might collapse. Kyle, what on earth were you thinking? Mr. Williams scolded Kyle. However, it was Mr. Thompson who firmly interjected. You're the president. Before getting angry at him, reflect on your own role as a leader. Mr. Williams shriveled. Seeing Mr. Williams's demeanor, Mr. Thompson sighed and spoke calmly. I understand it's not usually appropriate to interfere in a client's personal matters. However, I must speak up this time. Mr. Williams, could you consider rescinding Ethan's termination? What? I exclaimed in surprise. Don't be surprised, Ethan. You're a well-regarded salesman, the complete opposite of Kyle. Everyone says you're always kind, smiling, and supportive. I felt tears welling up, moved by his words. I was overwhelmed with emotion and had to hold back tears. It was a genuinely happy moment for me. The fact that my efforts to help others had been recognized filled me with deep gratitude and joy. You're a true salesman, and we want you to continue handling our account. You have a kind heart, and it would be a waste to lose you here, unlike someone else. At that, Kyle finally collapsed to his knees. Since we were talking at the company's entrance, I noticed a crowd had gathered around us. However, the fact that not a single person offered Kyle any assistance was a clear indication of his lack of popularity and respect among his colleagues. A few employees, prompted by Mr. Williams, helped Kyle up and led him away. I'll take responsibility for this matter, Mr. Thompson. Ethan won't be fired, and I'll conduct a thorough investigation into Kyle's behavior. Mr. Williams promised. Thank you very much. I appreciate your cooperation. After the conversation at the entrance concluded, I went outside to see off Mr. Thompson and Jennifer. Thank you so much, Mr. Thompson. You've been incredibly supportive. I believe Mr. Williams will handle things properly from now on, and the company will improve, I said, expressing my gratitude. Mr. Thompson patted my shoulder with a smile, encouraging me. As I said, Ethan, you are a lifesaver for Sophie, my precious granddaughter. Whatever you need, I'm here to help. Not just that, Ethan is an excellent salesman, Jennifer added. My father also started as a salesman and worked his way up. He loves people who have the right spirit. Mr. Thompson smiled bashfully at Jennifer's words. Seeing their smiles, I couldn't help but smile myself. Thank you. I'll continue to do my best, never giving up on being helpful in sales, I said. Keep it up, Ethan. You can do it. If you ever have trouble, don't hesitate to contact me, Mr. Thompson encouraged. After shaking hands with Mr. Thompson, I watched as he and Jennifer left. Subsequently, a major personnel overhaul took place at the company. An investigation into Kyle's behavior was conducted, revealing many testimonies about him from within the company. Mr. Williams was reportedly shocked by the findings. Kyle's punishment resulted in his transfer to a smaller company within the corporate group. This transfer, being indefinite, meant he would remain there until his retirement. As Kyle packed his belongings, not a single person approached to speak to him. Thank you for everything, he said in a quiet voice, his once confident demeanor gone. I later heard he had become much quieter and more subdued at his new posting. Afterward, Mr. Williams personally apologized to me, and I was promoted to a team leader position. Though my responsibilities and workload increased, I enjoyed my job in sales more than ever. Ethan, there's a request from a client, but it's a bit difficult for me. Any ideas? Sure, let me take some time to look into it. With Kyle gone, everyone seems more vibrant and enthusiastic about their work. The atmosphere of constantly having to gauge someone's mood has completely disappeared. Previously, there wasn't a culture of openly discussing issues or collaboratively solving problems. Instead, it seemed like everyone was on edge. I appreciated this positive change. My connection with Mr. Thompson's continued, and I even had dinner with him, Jennifer, and a now recovered Sophie. Initially nervous, I was put at ease by Sophie's talkative nature and Mr. Thompson's gentle demeanor, very different from his business persona. This is all part of fate. If you ever need anything, don't hesitate to ask. As a salesman, you can grow even more. Keep solving our customers' problems. Mr. Thompson's words became like a talisman to me. I resolved to become even more helpful to others. No matter the hardships or challenges, I knew there were people who believed in me. Therefore, I'll continue to walk the right path as a person. Keeping that sentiment in mind, I will carry on with my work in the future. I will carry on with my job, the sales work I love so much.